Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing, babe?
I'm doing good.
That's good. We are here with some of our good friends, Evan and Travis. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Hey, no problem.
Absolutely. Excited to be here.
Yeah, try not to overtalk each other. Hey, Evan, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're coming from, what you do.
My name is Evan Barnhart. I am an assistant principal at Redwood Christian Schools. It's a private school in the East Bay. And I'm primarily at the middle school, high school level. That's a little bit about me.
That's good. Thank you.
Travis?
Travis, that you would be next.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. There's only two people.
My name's... I didn't know if you had follow-up questions for Evan or if you wanted me just to jump right in. And I already got, reprimanded for speaking over Evan. So I really wanted to wait my turn. My name's Travis Bell. I'm the principal at Acalanes High School up in Lafayette. This is my 5th year as principal here. It's a high school only district. So we have grades 9 through 12. Excited to be here this morning with you guys.
Well, I know you guys are super busy, so we're going to try to make this pretty quick. And you've been working really hard this summer to prepare for kids going online, being at school, or being at home, going online. And I know we're doing this hopefully so that we can kind of help parents out, right? Because we know a lot of parents are kind of freaking out this year and nervous about what this is going to look like. How do I balance work? How do I balance my 2, 3, 4 children at home being online at all different ages? So hopefully, our goal of this conversation, and maybe it'll lead to other conversations, that we can provide some sort of hope for parents, hopefully, right? But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys all have glasses. I got to get some glasses.
You do have glasses. They just make your eyes look really big. All right. So there have been a few questions. Well, we've had some questions sent in, and then just some questions that we've kind of formed around the conversations that we're having the most with parents, or what parents seem to be the most worried about. So I'm just going to ask, and then you guys can decide who answers what. All right. Sound good? Okay. First one is the one I think I'm hearing about the most, is just, what do we do, or what's going to be the impact of how much screen time our kids are going to have? I think that's always a worry, and we're trying to monitor that as parents, as it is, like with video games and movies and things that they want to watch. But now that they need to be on all day, how do we balance that, or what's going to be the impact of that?
Yeah, that's Travis. I'm just going to steal it from you. Anyways, that's a really good question. I just would keep in mind that this is the nature for everybody. It's not just these like specific students who are having to go online, but we're kind of like all in this together. But to do your best to kind of put in preventative measures like that keep students kind of healthy and safe. One of these, Clint, you are missing is the glasses. Like I know like this has made a difference. I was on Zoom like all last week, but having these blue light glasses is super helpful. But also I would say like once you kind of have your schedule set up for students, once they know kind of when they need to be on Zoom and when not to, making sure that when they're not on Zoom, they're not on technology. Like don't like just push them to a TV, but say, if you can get outside, do your best to get outside. Try to focus on a tree or something outside, away from technology. Will really do wonders and make a big difference.
Evan, where do you? I love the glasses idea, Travis. I remember you kind of talked about that months ago. Like, where do you even get something like that? And I bet you people aren't even thinking like that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I just got mine off of Amazon. And I know there's other places where you can get them too. If you just simply Google blue light glasses.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Good.
That's a simple one. Okay, I'll piggyback off of that question, and might be a little bit different.
Well, does he have any?
Can I add one more thing into that?
Yes,
Because I just want to say, I know schools are also concerned about that, and schools are also trying to build schedules and structure a day to try to minimize that screen time as best as they can. And there's some legislation that came into effect over the summer after all the schools had to immediately close down in the spring, because there was concern about students that were never checking in at all. So there is a requirement now for this daily live attendance. So there does have to be some form of screen time that happens see students, make sure they're okay, and have a check-in. But I know, at least in my district, and from what I'm hearing coming out of the San Ramon district, that they are working on how do they structure that school day schedule, so that there's a balance of both synchronous learning and asynchronous learning, where you can try to minimize that screen time. And I do think the blue light glasses make a big difference.
Hey, we just had a couple questions come in. Somebody's asking right here, synchronous and asynchronous. I know what it is. Could you explain that a little bit for them, Travis?
Yeah, it pretty much is what it sounds like. Synchronous is when you're like synced up together. It's a live class that's happening. And then asynchronous would be learning that's done not live. So something that a teacher has pushed out through whatever learning management system your side is using. It could be as simple as like, hey, you're going to read this chapter and then answer these questions and send them in. Or it could be something like, hey, I've done this screencast and you're going to watch me teach this lesson, try some of these problems on your own, and then we're going to come back together synchronously and talk about what that looks like.
Hey, real quick, how do we create the perfect environment? And knowing that there's all sorts of different households that are, watching this and don't have access to certain things, but what are kind of the top 3 things to create an environment for our kids, best practices, whatever?
Evan, you want to go?
Yeah,
you
sure.
looked frozen, so part of this was just making sure you're okay.
I'm good. Yeah, that's a really good thing. I think it's not necessarily well, it is practical, but it's also above that too, is create an environment of grace. You use the word perfect. I would say don't get your hopes up that it will be perfect, but that there will be bumps in the road, whether with technology, whether with even the coordination. I mean, if you think about families with multiple kids, we're talking about a lot of technology, we're talking about a lot of screen time, and even just the organization and the coordination of kind of being in your classes. So just have an environment of grace as much as you possibly can. And then just try to kind of almost create this very purposeful schedule. Okay, here's where you are at this time. Here's where you are at this time. Hey, it's time for a break. And I know that's a lot to think about with juggling your own personal work, if you're working from home or if you have to go in, and then also managing your kids' schedules. But just that idea of purposeful scheduling, I think, would be really important.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up my phone real quick. So it was strategic asking you to go first, Evan. But actually, we have a wellness center on our high school, and our intake specialist pushed this out on their Instagram account, talking about workspaces for students. And she was writing, the research shows that we regulate to our environment. So set yourself up, have students set themselves up in a place that makes them feel good, and you can reduce the stress of online work by looking at calming things that connect us to positive feelings. So not only being in a place that makes you feel good, but you also have things around you that can be calming and regulating for your own nervous system as you engage. And then obviously, I think making that a consistent space where you go and do work, even just reading Matthew Walker's, like something like The Science of Sleep or Why We Sleep or something like that. And just the importance of, you don't want to you're doing work on your bed, you don't have good posture, and you're sitting there, and then it also becomes a place where there is a lot of stress and anxiety. So then when you try to sleep later, that's what you've regulated to. So creating a space that's separate that you can go to would be really helpful. And that can be anywhere. That could be in a corner of your kid's room. It could be in your garage. I know that's kind of what Lindsay and I have done. We've really transformed our garage into a second space that we can use. My sister-in-law, they have like a separate room that they've kind of just put all these desks in to try to create that separate space. So I think that can be really helpful as well.
That's really good. So that environment is important. Also, some sort of consistent structure maybe, or routine in the morning. Still get up at a certain time, eat breakfast. Absolutely. Not just roll out and get in, because eventually that's just going to lead to, I don't want to do this anymore. This is hard. It's tough. No, that's really good. Grace. I love that. I want to go back to something, Evan, you said, when people go out just to look at a tree, like, is there a certain type of tree? What do you focus on?
I prefer like an oak or a maple, but
why before every time you talk, you grab your glass? Go ahead, babe.
makes you feel really smart.
No, that's good. Okay, so as we're talking about grace, as we talked about, just monitoring screen time, any practical ways that we really care for the mental health of our kids during this? Because I think, it is a fact that we're all in a global pandemic. Things look so different in every area of their life. And I think parents and students alike, we all maybe could manage when we went to shelter in place in March because we knew the end of the school year. Like right now, it's hard because we don't know when is the end of this. How long is this going to last? So how do we help care for their mental health in this season?
Travis, I'll let you go first this time.
Perfect. Are you going to do some research while I
Yeah.
just try to wax some thoughts on this? I think that first and foremost, as parents, your kids. So being mindful and checking in with your children and watching for some of those nuances of different engagement levels from them, and then being willing to step into that to practice some of those mindful inquiry strategies. And helping them do some of their own reflection and self-management of mindful practices and de-stressing, and then encouraging that balance, encouraging them to find that thing that's going to help regulate and center them. Getting exercise and getting outside is so helpful, and helping encourage positive sleeping habits as well. So they're going to be on their screens significantly more than when they go to school in person. But we know a lot, at least at the high school level, that's part of their nightly routine is to be on the screen, engaging online with friends, and there needs to be some monitoring there of that. But there's also a ton of resources that you can access online. As I mentioned, we have a wellness center at my school, so I know our wellness center web page on our website just has a lot of resources for how to manage distance learning and issues coming up around COVID-19, because you're also navigating that, right? The stress of a pandemic and what that might mean for them or for your family, and the concern about getting sick or someone in their family getting sick, or the grief of loss of experience starting school for our seniors who aren't going to have this normal start to their school year, or our ninth grade students who are coming in and haven't even stepped foot on the campus yet, but yet they're starting at this high school, which is supposed to be this big celebratory thing. So they're navigating a lot, not just the online component of the daily interactions. And so use those resources that are out there and tap into those resources. I would imagine, I know San Ramon has a page for that. I know my district has a page for that. Evan, I would imagine you guys do too. But then there's also community resources, so you can get online and look and see if there's things out there that can be helpful and work for you and your family.
That's great, and we can provide some of those websites for people to hop on there, and I can get those later from you, Travis, and post this when you post it.
Absolutely.
That's good. Evan, did you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I don't know how I'm supposed to follow Travis. He's so smart, but those are some really good things. He must have blue light glasses on. Yeah, I would just say, parents, like, don't beat yourself up. Like, we're all in this together. I think I already said that, but I mean, it's so true. And as you have these regular check-ins and regular conversations with your kids, just don't be afraid to say, you know what, like, hey, I see something in you. Let's just take a day, and I want you, like, awesome, like, your kid will still turn out really, really well, even if they miss a day of school. And just spend that time with them. Just know that your kid's mental and emotional health is far more important than maybe missing an academic day. So just don't beat yourself up if you decide to take that day for their health.
I mean, look, I'm a perfect example of that. I missed multiple days.
I don't know if that's helpful to any parent
at
right
school.
now.
I'm just going to kind of shake my head up and down.
Yeah. Hey,
So Evan, when someone gets a cut from school, they can just play this video and say, my assistant principal excused my absence.
Hey,
Perfect. Okay.
If they are willing to go through it this far, give them a day off. All right. Give them Hey, talking to teachers, administrators, it's not a us versus them. I do feel like parents are frustrated. And it's not coming, I don't sense like parents are frustrated, angry, but it's coming across like it's the teacher's fault or it's the school's fault. And it's not, it really isn't. How do we, I love what you're saying, Evan, throughout this whole thing is, grace upon grace upon grace, right? But at the same time, what are some practical things? Maybe we don't have practical things, just to kind of, we're all in this together. How do we cheer our teachers on? How do we, keep moving forward with, positivity?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I would just remind you that teachers, administrators, public and private, no matter what part of the Bay, are all kind of walking through this together. We're all. I was telling somebody the other day, 2021 for a lot of teachers will be like starting back at square one. Learning new management systems, learning new even methodologies as they're teaching online. Teaching online is obviously way different than teaching in person. So a lot of teachers are kind of navigating, hey, what's the best way to communicate what the students need to know online. And so just kind of walking with grace with them as they're kind of navigating through this, but knowing that I interact with teachers, and like I don't know many that are in it for the money, but they're in it because they care about kids and they want to see our kids kind of take steps forward in their education. I know that a lot of them have worked throughout the summer to figure out the best way to communicate that. So you are an advocate for your kids. Continue to advocate, continue to email, continue to call your teachers and say, what's the best way that we can work together? But just approach that with grace upon grace.
Yeah, it's good. Travis, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, I know that I hear often from my parent community just the concern about their kid falling behind, or that the education isn't it's not going to be as rigorous, and that could have longer term impacts. Again, I'm at a high school level, so they're really thinking more, looking out at college and what that's going to mean for them for college. And there's sort of two things that I would say to that. One is, yeah, grace has to arrive first, and I think Evan has really driven that point home, not just for parent to teacher or student to teacher, but also for for yourself, like allowing grace to arrive first for yourself. I'm telling my teachers the same thing because they're frustrated that they can't engage in the content in the way in which they used to as well. However, I will say some positive stuff coming out of this work is that it has forced teachers to be more collaborative and work in subject-alike teams to really narrow in on what are the most essential skills that our students need. Skills that are going to have longevity and help with the vertical alignment of you need this to go on to the next level, and doing away with some of those maybe oh, that's nice to know or nice to have, but really focusing on the essentials, because we know that our time is shorter with our students. The attention spans are going to be shorter, and we have to engage at a more concrete level for what's needed. And that's a really great thing. And to know that it's happening to everyone. And so from the college level down, there's an understanding of what students are going to be coming in with when we are able to finally open back up. So it's very likely that the 2020-2021 school year is going to look different for the whole year. But I think we're all hopeful that that we'll be able to open back up, specifically at the start of the 2021 school year. And I think there's going to be some positive work that will have happened over the course of this school year to refine some of those practices and be able to continue with some engagements that are positive and really do have a strong benefit for student learning.
It's great.
That's good.
That's really good. It's like I like to equate it to NASA, like Apollo 13. There had to be first flights out there, right? And it's in those launchings. It's that we learn new things.
No one will die this year because of distance learning.
That's terrible. All right. You have anything else?
No, I think that's really good. I think the only thing I'd not end with, but I would say there's a lot of need out there. I think there's people that are going to watch this that know of a person or a single mother, a single father, people that have restrictions when it comes to internet, the tools that they need. I don't know if you guys have the answers on some of those things, but what do we do to help, and how do we hear or see need, and what does that look like?
I think for a lot of that, like you're talking about, maybe you people who are watching this don't necessarily have those needs, but like you're saying, like know somebody or connected to somebody somehow. Communicate that to your local school district, to your schools, and even to us at Easttown, and let us know how we can partner with people who are in need, because it's an issue. Inequity during distance learning, it's going to be a challenge for a lot of families. So I think we can't help needs we don't know about. So communicate some of those needs, and we can see where we can jump in and help.
It's good.
And keep your eyes open. I mean, I would say approach your neighborhood with just an awareness and mindfulness of how people are doing, to see if there's something that you can step in to engage and help support your neighbors, other kids in your child's class, or people as you have those interactions throughout your day.
Yeah, that's really good. Hey, so to summarize, grace upon grace, right? Create an environment where they where they want to learn, where it's the same every day, right? Those type of things. Mental health matters more than anything, so be aware of those type of things, and just creating that system or that structure that they can depend on. And I think that's really good. Hey, I'm gonna ask you guys to commit to this one more time, maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks, to see where we are after we've launched. Because I know we're going to learn so much, and you guys are going to learn so much over the next few weeks. And so I'd like to come back. What are you hearing? What are you experiencing? How can we continue on to do the best? You guys are doing such an incredible job, and we're so thankful for you. We have the privilege of knowing you personally, and we know how much you care about families, you care about students, and you care about what is best for them. And so we are just so thankful for you, and thankful for our teachers out there. So
yeah.
I also appreciate that you committed us while recording for a live Instagram feed. So we're in. I mean, we're in. We can't say no.
That's all perfect. You guys can't really say no. No, I would say, can we end with one more thing? Because I think we're focusing, a lot of us, I am as a parent, on like, what is this going to be like? What are the most stressful points going to be? What I'm kind of fearful of. But this really is, there are opportunities even in this global pandemic, like to train our kids up, to prepare them for things like they've never experienced, the unknown and the uncertainty like they are now. And so we have an opportunity to build into their character through this. But what, as a teacher or as an administrator, what are you most excited about? Like, I don't know if we're asking that question very often. Like, what is the opportunity here? What are you excited about? Let's end on that note today.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the things I'm most excited about, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, is watching our teachers navigate through this, and still watching them care and love for students, and say, hey, I'm going to figure out what the best possible methodology is. I'm going to figure out how to reach and care for my students, even through the challenges of Zoom and the digital learning environment. I'm still going to figure it out. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to care for kids and watch them kind of improve academically, socially, emotionally. And so that part is encouraging to watch.
it's great.
I'm excited that people will wash their hands more. Just kidding. I think I would echo that. I think I'm so impressed with my teaching staff, who has just they really have given up their summer to engage in some of the learnings that they need in order to see a successful year. And I think that there are some really cool things that some learnings that have come out of this. Some of the things that have kind of always been on the back burner of, like, we really need a better learning management system than School Loop, or whatever the thing is at the school district. This has really propelled that work forward out of necessity. And I think that that's going to have a lasting impact for years to come. And that's exciting to me as an educator. But I also think it's exciting to step in and see some different ways that we can support our kids at home. I know learning about our oldest is just going into first grade, and then we've got a TKer, and then like a wild 2-year-old who's running around. So we just forget about the 2-year-old. But with the TKer in the first grade, like, this is an opportunity for us to really gain a deeper understanding of how they best learn, and that can lay a foundation of support for our kids moving forward. And if your kids are already older, this is a great opportunity to be able to step in and engage with them and their learning in a totally different way, because before you know it, they're going to have launched out of your house, and you'll be able to take what you've learned during this time to support them for years beyond. So I am excited for that.
That's great.
That's awesome.
You guys, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this. I want to just say, if you're watching this right now and you feel like there's some things that are beneficial to you, they're going to be beneficial to others. So go ahead and share this with somebody else. I think they will truly enjoy it. And we'll see you guys again in 2 or 3 weeks for another interview. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, guys.
All right,
Have
see
a
you
great
guys.
day.